There we go. Hey, everybody. This is Mike with Rich and Scott Graham. And Deb Johnson's joined us, and Teddy's somewhere out there in the digital car as he's driving around. Um, Today, we're going to talk about treatments, movie treatments. It's something that always used to be a little bit hard to do because it's saying, hey, no, I don't want to read your script. I want to read your treatment. If somebody doesn't know what a treatment is basically a prose summary of a film or a TV project that usually written in the present tense and captures the story, the characters, the whole tone of the film that you're putting together. It's not the full screenplay or the full story. Instead, it just reads like a short story version of the movie that you're trying to write. It's often anywhere between 5 and 15 pages long, and sometimes longer. I mean, I've read and written ones that are 15 to 30 pages. So depending on what they want, most people what they're really happy with is a 5 to 15. So that otherwise they'll read the script. And that usually helps them get the script. And what it does is the treatment, it helps you sell an idea before your full script's written. You know, it helps you pitch to producers. You usually give it along with your pitch deck to producer studios, networks, sometimes investors too. That hey, I'm interested in putting money on your movie or investing in you. Usually that comes along with an NDA on an investor. Um, uh, it helps organize your thoughts, especially as a writer. It's hard to tell your own story. Sometimes it's easier when somebody else tells it. So you should know it better than anyone else, and it helps you get to know your story better. If you were When you were in school, if you liked writing book reports or hated book reports, either way, you had to write them. This is kind of that way. It's a book report of your story, but a little bit more detail, because you're also trying to sell at that same time. Those really help you secure financing, and they attract talent as well. If you're trying to get an A-list actor to attach to your story, he may not want to read the script right away. He may want to just say, "Hey, toss me the treatment or a summary so I can see if I'm interested in it." At that point, and I'm sure you've already pitched it, but sometimes I want to read it. So, and it really works as a roadmap for writing your screenplay. I know people that go back and write a treatment just so that they have it in their pocket. But many writers will go ahead and write a treatment first, and that way it does create a roadmap for your screenplay. Um, the
It
purpose
really helps. It helps with this. It helps solidify your story,
it does.
structure. It helps your characters, um, and you can sell a treatment also.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
I mean that yeah, we're going to cover that too. It's like there's guys that Rich and I know that have never sold a screenplay, but they've sold a ton of treatments and pitches. There's a guy in Hollywood. He's called the number. He used to be called the number one pitch guy, and he had the most boring voice that you'd ever want to hear. Pardon me. One of the things that he was famous for saying, never, never, ever write stories about vampires, zombies, and stupid things like that. And right after he pitched that, there was nothing but, vampire movies
and
and zombie stories. And of course, the biggest of them all, the one series on zombies, uh, Living Dead, or what's it called? No,
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. So and it all came about because this guy was anti-zombie movie. Um, so and it does save time and money instead of you know sitting there trying to get some clarification about your story, get interest in your story. It really does help a lot on time wise of creating that, and it's essential. Treatments are essential in TV development too. So um, when before I wrote the the series Bible for the settlement, I had to write a treatment for the story based on basically a page that the guy who the story was about, and it really doesn't even resemble that that first story that he gave me. Other than the first scene, the whole story has changed after that. The idea of the story still was born out of that page and a half, and the series is the written part of the series is taken on a whole different aspect and more action and more stuff. So, but that was cleaned out, by fleshed all that out by writing the treatment. Otherwise, I wouldn't have never got there, because it was a very slow moving story, and then they were saying, "Wow, what is this about? This is too slow. This will never sell." Um, you know,
It's recommended if you're going in for a pitch section, if you're going in to pitch something, and you have a couple of pitches, it's really a good idea to have a couple of treatments on you also.
oh,
So
absolutely.
after you,
It's like more than one thing. Yeah.
yeah, after you pitch one or two things, it's also good to have a couple of treatments on you, I think.
Yeah, it's like, what else have you got? I'm not interested. What else have you got? It's hard to get those meetings, and when you do get those meetings, it's like you don't want to waste it. So you should always have some extra little uh, you know things in your pocket just to say, hey. And you know what? When you give those pitches, it's not like you can read them. You have to know them like they're your own, because they are your own. It's that's something that you're not expected to read. You know, it's a big turnoff. I've been in pitches where the guy's reading his pitch, and I've seen the person over at Sony going blah 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 blah. You don't know your own story. What else you got? And he hemmed and hawed, and they asked him to leave. And it was like, God, I was so nervous before I went out, especially in those big sessions. And it's a really good lesson to learn. So there's a pretty much a step-by-step process, that Rich and I both use to create a for the process of writing a movie treatment. And it all starts with creating a log line. And I'm sure everybody here knows a log line, but for those that are listening in that may not know what it is, it's usually a one or two sentence summarizing the story's hook. Like a good example is a timid hobbit sets out on a perilous quest to destroy an ancient ring that could doom the whole world. What would that be? Lord of the Rings. So that's kind of a nice, easy pitch line. So
Mhm.
that's one thing to kind of fashion it after being able to tell your story in that one line. You know,
The log line has to be concise, right? It has to be compelling. It's one or two sentences tops, right? And it has to hook the reader and capture really your core premise. That's number one, I
Mhm.
think. And it really has to tell us about your protagonist and your central conflict.
Sure.
And that's hard, but you have to do it in one or two sentences.
Yeah. I mean,
But
look at
those are
that.
those are the three things you really have to, really hit in that log line.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you said, outlining the story. So it's like you you're bullet pointing the major beats of the story. What is it? Setup, conflict, climax, and resolution. So, and then your character breakdowns, right? I mean, Rich.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We talking about after the log line?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you have your log line, right? You have your synopsis, right? Your summary,
yeah.
right? Which is, your narrative account of the story, right? Just the key events, right? So,
Hmm.
with your synopsis, you want to have like you want to. That's your synopsis is going to be the section where you're going to outline your plot points, your key points, right? Your character arcs, and really the overall flow of your three-act structure, right? Your setup, your confrontation, and your resolution. That's just going to be in your synopsis and your summary. So you have
Right.
your log line, you have your synopsis, you have your summary, and then from there, yeah. Now we're going to get into the character descriptions, and that's just like you said, it's a brief introduction to your main characters,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and you write it in prose. You don't write it like you're,
Yes,
you know, the way like you're telling the story to a friend. In,
correct.
in that way, no formatting, no nothing like that. You know,
Right.
just stay tight and you can be a little cinematic in your descriptions, but it's basically you're 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 telling the story to like you're telling it to your friend. Include, you got to include your major emotional beats too. Highlight the character's internal journey, not just the plot, but you want to sell them on your characters too,
Yeah.
your antagonist and your protagonist, and you got to keep the whole tone of the story consistent. If
So
it's a comedy, or if it's
that's important, and that's a great point because I think it's all they always say it's optional, but I really believe in my heart that theme and tone, like underlying themes, like is it a dark comedy? Is it suspense thriller? Whatever the hell it is, you got to get that in there without. You don't want to say what it is, but through your synopsis, right? Whoever's reading this should know what that is.
oh yeah.
You know what I'm
Well,
trying to say?
if it is a comedy, you want to get a chuckle out of them too. It's like you want to, you don't want them to sit there, like, oh, this is funny. Okay, cool.
Right. They should know by reading your treatment what the genre and the tone is. You shouldn't have
Yeah.
to say it.
Yeah, you should have to say, this is a comedy. Really, is it?
If it's written well, and if it's written well, they really should know what the honestly, they should know what the target audience is also. They really should.
Yeah,
That's
suddenly a
important,
little bunny comes walking in the room beating a drum. Is it
right?
a comedy? No, it's a horror. It's a battery commercial.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
important. It's important too that they understand what their target audience, who they're going to sell this thing to, and how they're going to make their money. Because
for sure.
that's all it comes down to is they want to make money. That's
Yeah.
really all it comes down to.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that too because it's like a lot, like I said, you can make money on your treatments. I've never been successful at that. I've never been able to sell anything on just a treatment, but I've been surrounded by people that do. We've trained people that sell treatments, and they've made a good living at it. Fortunately, I never have. But so if anybody does, want the formula, we also have it in our Words to Film by book
Yeah.
on, an exact way to do it. And you could enter that into your Google Docs or into, Microsoft Word, and you can fill in those spaces for it, and it walks you through it all the way. And we do teach a class on this too. So if anybody, when we do throw that up there, if anybody wants to join in, send us a note, and we'll get you signed up onto a class. When we're holding a big one. So also, just so you know, a lot of the you know ways that you can make money off of the treatment by selling it is also licensing it. You can also option it. For against a purchasing fee. So they say, hey, we'll give you $1,000, to hold it for a month. We want to pitch it around a little bit, or we'll give you, you know, 10, 20 grand, and we want it for 6 months, to hold on to it. Now we've optioned scripts like that, and they go to develop it, but they also do that with treatments and say, hey, they may not hire you as a writer, but you made your fee on that. And you can also stipulate that, hey, if you do go with somebody else on this, I want a piece of the back end. It's my story. They may say no, that's a deal breaker. And then it's up to you at that point, whether um, you are going to be a part of it at that point, and you say how badly you need the money, especially on credit. It's like saying, hey, I want to retain my story credit by, this is my story, that you're going to develop into a script. So it
Credit's
depends on,
important. Remember, guys, they can buy all this and take your name off of it.
yeah,
So it's very,
completely.
very important that you fight for your credit. Um, Here's some tips for writing your treatment. You have to be engaging. You have to be a good writer because you have to if you can't keep their attention, they're just going to move on. So really be very vivid and find a writing style that's very compelling that they're really going to really want to keep reading and make sure you focus on the core story. Like when you're writing, if you find that you're going off track, you got to bring it back. Something we talk about all the time is show, don't tell, right? Make it visual, right? It's a visual art. We talk about this all the time. Write in visual. It's visual. It's a screen. It's a visual screenwriting. It's a visual art. And again, keep it very concise. Um, what else, Mike? Write in the present. Stay in.
Yeah, right in the present. I mean, it's like you're telling the story like it just happened. Unless you're doing a real period story, even still, you tell it like it's like you're in that story. You're like you're at in that moment. There are tons of examples. You can go to moviescriptdatabase.com. And what's the other one, Rich?
Scripts, is it Script Star?
Simplyscripts.com.
Simply Scripts. Yeah.
That both have a section that have treatments of hundreds of movies, if not thousands. But they have a big section with the treatments in there. That it's a whole different animal.
Right.
It's a wonderful. I mean, there's a lot of evidence out there too of how many stories have sold that way and got started is off of treatments. There was one of the concept sales, they call them concepts, for a story was Sleepy Hollow, the TV series. A guy named Alex Kurtzman had sold the treatment for the modern day version of Sleepy Hollow before it was even written into a script. Fox bought it, and it wasn't even the treatment. It was based on the pitch, and then they asked him for the treatment after that. He didn't write every episode either. They hired a whole team, and I believe it was a different showrunner too.
Really?
Uh, District 9 was another one. It was a pitch that got turned into a short film that got turned into the movie by Peter Jackson seeing it, and he went
Interesting.
ahead and funded it, and District 9 was born. So,
You know what else I was going to say when you guys are writing the treatment? Besides writing in the present tense, avoid dialogue.
oh yeah, yeah,
Treatments
that's a big one.
yeah, treatments summarize the action. Don't include lines of dialogue unless a short snippet is crucial for you to convey some sort of tone, but very rare you're going to use dialogue in your treatment. A lot of mistakes are made with that. People start doing dialogue. It's not a screenplay.
Yeah.
Not a screenplay, it's a treatment. Okay? So that's it. And proofread, have somebody proofread your treatment. It's
Yeah,
really important.
even run it through an AI, so there's no mistake.
Yeah,
Read it
whatever.
again.
But yeah.
It-
So yeah, it's really a way to tell your story in a very concise way. That's exactly what a treatment is. So I mean,
that's why it's really important to create, go to events, a lot of the events, other than online and other than in our platform, it's good to meet and create strategic alliances with producers and directors.
yeah,
Especially as a writer, meet these people. It doesn't you don't have to be in LA for it. There are people that are in the industry. every state every state has a website on the .gov that has the film commission on it. And in that film commission website, they have a list, even in Michigan, of all the people that have gone ahead and signed their name up there. I'm a producer. I'm a producer. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. Some of them put that up there. Also on IMDb Pro, there's people looking for projects. There's tons of websites out there that where producers are looking for projects. You can also look in Hollywood Reporter, Variety, all of them. You'll see in the back in small sections. We're looking for scripts. We're this production company. We're looking for this type of a script, that type of a script. Looking for new writers, that are doing this. You take it with a grain of salt. You do your query letters and protect your stuff. Copyright it. You
say
cannot
that.
protect the idea, but you can protect the essence of the copyright.
Can't,
So
can't copyright a title, right?
yeah, oh yeah, you can copyright a pilot, sure.
No, no title. I said you can't
A title.
copyright a title.
Yeah, you can't. That takes a lot of doing to be able to protect the title, and it's
It's a million
you know
titles. Yeah. Right.
really have to. Sorry, my hearing. You have to really jump through hoops to be able to protect the title.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's a
Yeah.
trademark, and you have to get granted that by the uh, trademark and patent office. It's
Yeah.
really hard to do. There are ways to get around that. There's ways to get it there. It's like, especially if you create a series of graphic novels and protect that story's title. It's very hard still, but you could, you know.
Yeah. I, treatments are, that if you have ideas for movies and you don't want to write the whole movie, like if you have, you have like 5, 7 ideas for movies, treatments are a great way to get, to really just get your ideas on paper.
Yeah, and then flesh it out and see if you want to write it.
Yeah, because I have so many ideas for movies, but they're not totally, totally, totally fleshed out. But I'll write a treatment, you know. Put it in a drawer, go back to it later even.
I can't verify this because I don't know what the writer's name is. I heard a story. Did anybody hear the movie Sharknado?
Yeah.
Um,
My
I
wife
mean,
loves that movie
ab-
for some reason.
absolutely stupid idea. It made so much money. It was it, it was sold to the Sci-Fi Channel. Sharknado was like it sold on one sentence pitch, not even on the treatment. The guy sold it, and then once a tornado full of sharks hits Los Angeles. They go, I love it. We need a treatment though. The guy ran out and wrote the treatment, came back in, and they ordered the script right after that.
It's crazy, man.
I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it's the craziest stuff sells, you know. Um, and that's one of them. I wish I could remember the writer's name and that did that. I remember hearing the story that it's really what kind of neat, what kind of a neat thing to say. Hey, you made money from something silly like that. You know, some of the things to keep in mind, when you put them together, and it's like, first of all, you got to sell yourself, on your story, and make sure really read it to yourself. Even if you record it in your own voice and read it to yourself, or have your AI read it, it's the best way, because it's not like a stage table read where you can have actors each read a part because it's a story being read back to you. So, you know, that way it's great to listen to it and take your own notes. Keep it tight, 5 to 15 pages. You
Keep
know,
it. Yeah, I recommend 5 to 7 pages, man.
yeah. I mean,
Really.
it's like 15 is tops.
Smaller better, man. Yeah.
Yeah, less is more. Um, you know, emphasize what the emotional journey is, and by all means, the immediate thing you can do as far as protecting it is register for $20 with the Writers Guild, and also for the U.S. Copyright Office before you pitch it.
Mhm.
The Copyright Office, the U.S. Copyright Office gives a lawyer certain fees that they will take your case in case you are ripped off. The Writers Guild, will send somebody that said, yes, he registered it on the 4th of November. Yes, we have it right here, and here's the script that was registered on that date. And then they have an expert read them and see if it was violated. But the U.S. Copyright Office, it's unrefutable, and the way it's unrefutable is getting a really good copyright attorney that will take it with the guaranteed fees above and beyond, especially if it's a heavy pocket that has it. So those are a couple of the things that uh, you know that could help you write your treatment. If anybody needs the template, just go to Words to Film By, and it's in the book, and the template is right there. If anybody needs any help with that, we're here to help with you putting those together. So, Rich, do you have anything else on that?
That's all I've got. Yeah,
Has
that's about
anybody
it.
got any questions?
I have a question real quick.
Sure.
It does confuse me a little bit, like about treatments though, because you show me different ones, and I'm just like, how do you do it without aren't you supposed to tell the whole story? That's the whole idea, right? Is like kind
Yeah,
of, or yeah, but just leave all the dialogue out. It's just
Leave the
the
dialogue.
whole arc, and just
yeah. It's like just tell a story. Just tell the story without using dialogue. Yeah,
like I was just sitting here talking to you at a bar or something.
yeah,
Yeah, like when I pitched Cigarette Money is about what I saw, as a child, and I described it because it was a screenplay first, and I was talked into by a famous dude writing it as a novel, so
Mhm.
it was a script first, and being able to articulate it. I didn't say anything in the dialogue. I said, hey, when I was 10, we saw a murder. We saw a guy get murdered while we were under a table, and that was pretty much the opening pitch to it. Well, explain it to me. I don't understand. Because, yeah, we're in my uncle's restaurant, so we went through that. So it's like you saw it. I saw a car drive down the road. I saw a bag get thrown out the window. Uh, that bag rolled down the hill. Me and Jimmy would go down to the bottom of the hill to take a look at it. We think, hey, what's in there? You know, we go down there. We're kind of afraid to touch the bag. Jimmy reaches out to touch it, and he sees that it's moving. You know, he tears it open and sees there's a puppy in there. It's not a puppy, it's a baby cub, a lion cub. So it's like you tell it, but you're not saying like what you said to each other. Like, oh my God, what's in there? You can say, hey, we wondered what was in there. You know, we reached out to it, and then it kind of moved. It tore open. There's a baby lion cub. That didn't happen to me. I'm just making that up. So, but that's how you kind of tell it in a treatment. You know, already there's two characters there. Mike and Jimmy. You know, so the third one pops up. It's the object of the story of the lion cub. So without having to say, you know, any of that dialogue, because then even if it is a dialogue driven story, you still have to explain what is happening.
Yeah. These two people, they talk to each other a lot, and then something happens, and then they die. That's my story.
Maybe it's maybe you take if you have the script idea, maybe you take it into 6 pages and you do 2 pages per act.
But okay, this is my point
If
though.
that'll
Like,
help
do
you.
I reveal the big secret? Like in that you say, okay, and the big reveal is gonna be in the third act that this guy completely didn't know he's being hosed by everyone, and now he knows, and
Yeah,
that's
you tell the whole
where he
story.
completely spins out and shit starts blowing up all over the place, and America and North Korea almost get into a war, and it's just cats and dogs living together. It's amazing, and that's my story, like that.
Yeah, you gotta tell the whole story so they buy it.
Gotcha.
Okay,
You
I have
gotta make
a
it.
question, if I can jump
Oh
in.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Real quick. Uh, I have two questions. The first one is, there's a lot of talk about a one page. How is it, and I understand the whole concept of the treatment. Is that kind of the same thing? You're telling it in one page versus a treatment, which would be like a 5 to 7. Is there a difference, I guess, is my question.
In a lot of ways, yes. If you look and say, hey, great place to look is on IMDb Pro, or on it used to be on the back of a DVD box or on the back of a VHS. It tells you you tell kind of an abbreviated version of what you're going to see, what the story is about.
Right.
It also doesn't have like the full ending or what happens or all that, but it's kind of a teaser to it without giving away too many of the things. That's a one pager.
Got it.
Sometimes it's necessary to go ahead and tell that full story, you know, leaving really good parts out, but you're still telling a story pretty much in a synopsis form, which is a one pager. They'll say, "Hey, give me a one pager or give me a treatment."
Got it. Okay.
Right, Rich? I
Yeah,
mean,
yes, true. Hey, Deb, do you ever see like you go to Netflix or Amazon and like you'll see a description of a movie in like
Yeah.
7, 8 lines?
Yes.
I always find those fascinating. Whoever writes those, because a lot of times that's what makes me want to watch a movie. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm like, those guys, whoever writes those does a pretty damn good job to get my attention.
Yeah.
They don't give the whole movie away, but they say just enough to get me to go, okay, I'll try this.
Just enough to click on it. Yeah.
So one page is a little more than that.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
And then, thank you. And then my
Oh.
second question is, I find that when I write my initial treatment, when I'm exploring the idea, the actual movie, there's a lot of holes, right? Because we haven't written, I mean, at least how I work, I haven't figured it all out yet. And by the time that script is written, it's not a completely different story, but it makes more sense. It doesn't leave you with so many open-ended questions like, well, that couldn't work, or that, because that's what my first treatment is going to look like. But I don't know, how do you address that? How do you address the incomplete? I'm just thinking about the idea that Rich mentioned, like, yeah, make sure you take some treatments with you when you're pitching in case they say, what else have you got? Well, if I've got a whole lot of ideas, and I can put treatments together for it, but there's going to be a lot of holes.
which is still okay. I mean, it's like for me, and I know Rich does this sometimes, but it's like this was it for me. I was not a writer. I was an English student, but I didn't start off as a writer. I wanted to tell a story about a club I owned, and I learned it from the on a phone call with the television and Motion Picture Corp of America in Los Angeles when I was given a lady's number, and I called her, and she talked to me for 2.5 hours and taught me screenwriting, the basics. I mean, it was just the coolest thing. She said, "Hey, just let me know when you have your script done." But what the one thing I picked up on that, she says, "Do you know your story?" I says, "Kind of. I kind of lived it, so I kind of know it." She goes, "Take and write a line across a piece of paper before you do anything else. Put all the major things that happen in your story, all the way from beginning, middle, and end. After you divide it that way, put dots all the way through it and say, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened." And then you have to get to those points. So what she said in a nutshell was, you have to have your inciting incident, you have to have your plot points, but she didn't tell it to me that way. She just said, "Hey, your story, hit these points in your story, and you'll discover other things in your story as you go along. Don't even worry about the dialogue. Write the story out first, and then, and that was like, God, 30 years ago.
Right.
Deb, Deb, as long as you know your story, it's okay that it's going to change.
Okay.
I think that's the answer you're looking for.
Because it's your story.
It's good. They're going to buy it or not buy it, but it's going to change. And believe me, once you write the script, that's going to change probably 4 or 5 times anyway. So
Right.
so long they're buying the basic idea of it. That's all.
Got it. Okay.
Don't worry about it.
And know your log line and your pitch line, of the story from that. And if they say, "Hey, do you have the treatment?" "Not with me. I can bring it with me. I can send it to you." And then you send it through your agent or through your lawyer or somebody, and then you go from there.
Okay. Thank you. Got it.
You're welcome.
Good questions. Anything else, guys?
I think we kind of covered it. I don't know if we missed anything. If anybody
it's
does
a
have any
whole huge
questions,
subject.
What's that?
It's a whole huge subject, right?
It is.
We teach a whole class on it. We teach a whole class on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially testing it out and trying it, and there's nothing like writing your treatment out, and
Do you include that stuff in your copyright materials too?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, man.
So when I update my copyright stuff this week, man, we gotta make sure that wait. I put my log lines and stuff. I didn't put my treatment in there though.
We have spent so many hundreds of thousands of dollars on just copyrights, Writers Guild certificates. It's
the Writers Guild's only good for 5 years, because they figure, hey, if I haven't sold it in 5 years,
yeah, it's crazy.
Okay. Except for I'm the KFC guy, so give me a break. Right, that was great.
That's why copyright's really important. It lasts. So.
All right, that's a good place to leave it, I think. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Hope we helped.
Thanks very much. Appreciate your time.
Oh,
You're welcome.
thank you. I'm glad you came.
Yeah.